Hello and welcome to the Irn-Cru podcast, the American football podcast made in Scotland by NFL lovers. My name is Keith McGinty and I am your host this evening as we preview the Wildcard Weekend for the 24-25 season of the NFL. To do so, I'm joined by some of the finest crew members that we have available on a Friday night. Well seen that we're getting old, guys, and we don't actually have much going on a Friday night anymore. First up, we have Smudger, our Vikings fan in Hamilton there. How are you doing, Craig?
Good, Keith. Aye, good to get back on. Have a blather with you guys. I think like most people, it's the end of the first week back after the Christmas holidays. So I've spent the past 5 days trying to remember what it is I do for a living. Seemed like a bit of a blur over the holidays. Too many mince pies, few too many beers, but a cracking time. Some cracking football watched over the Christmas period as well. So, I've got my road jersey on for Wildcard Weekend. I've got my drinking horn here with my beer in it. So,
nice.
As far as Friday nights go, it's pretty good.
I'm still living on a diet of celebrations, so get me through. We've got Wounded Warrior as well, our Kilted Texan, Graham. How are we, buddy?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. Yeah, thanks for having me on a Friday night when I'm got nothing to do. But yeah, it's a good festive period. Everything was good apart from kickoff on Christmas Day. You'll maybe have noticed that for the Texans. So glad to see that time has passed and we're into a new year, new beginnings. So let's hope we can do something different.
What did you make of the Netflix showing the games on Christmas Day?
As long as they cover it, I'm not really bothered. I thought the coverage was pretty good. I think everyone might agree that the halftime show was probably Super Bowl caliber. Unbelievable halftime show, to be fair. A lot of big names probably jumped out of nowhere. Nice to see Carl McNair and Hannah McNair in the lowrider in the back. With the big bull horns on the front of it. I don't know if you noticed that they made an appearance on one of the cars, the owners of the franchise. They've been got involved. So,
was that the tunnel at the start? It was quite a production, wasn't it?
Oh, unbelievable! I at one point I was like, she's not even there. They've just done this all pre-recorded and stuff. And no, but then
I thought it was like they pre-recorded all of this and then the smoke as they came through the tunnel, and I was like, because that all seemed like so slick and so rehearsed. I was like,
totally pre-done. It was daylight. It was daylight when she walked in. No, but brilliant. So, but no, it'd be good to talk about this upcoming weekend of football.
Yeah, so we've got lots going on today. There was a big announcement though, and it was Brian's birthday. Happy birthday, Brian! The conscience of Cleveland himself. We also had that's some picture that stuck for me there. You see that there? We also have the London games have been announced. We've got 3 home games. You've got the Jags, the Browns, and the Jets are back again. Craig, we were down at the Vikings Jets game.
Yeah,
what a weekend
Jets,
that
Jets
was.
Coming back for more punishment. Will it be another Aaron Rodgers led Jets back to London next year? We'll see what happens. But yeah, it's always exciting when you get all these little nuggets of information coming through for next season. What there is to look forward to. So yeah, I'm sure both Ryan and Pat, from a Jets point of view, will be delighted that they'll get a chance to get in and see their teams.
Graham, you looking forward to that? There's been a bit of derision about the teams that are coming over and the caliber of them, but I think it's quite good. The Jets fans were fantastic. I think they were definitely outsung by the skull chants from the Vikings when we were there, but I thought the atmosphere that they generated was great.
With the UK games over the last few years, me and my group, we always buy tickets every year. We're season ticket holders for both, for Wembley and Tottenham, and we mostly buy them just for our teams coming. We've got a mix in our group. Colts. There's the Colts, Bills, Giants, Texans, Titans. We all buy them, but Like every year now, I sell my tickets. We only ever sell them at face value just to make sure that there's actual fans in the seats, and it's usually people that we know and we've made connections with over the years. I think there's a slight element, and I might get this might be like a hot take, and I might get a bit of backlash for this, but I think there's some of the NFL fan base over here gotten a bit comfortable with who they get. You know, they expect the best all the time, which when they're trying to get into new markets like Germany, probably like Spain, all these other markets, they have to get the premium now. You know, they gave us the premium for so many years. We can't expect it all the time. And if you really are moaning that much about your premium team not coming, you're not actually that more expensive to go out and see them.
Yeah,
where they play. So, you know, like we buy our tickets every year in case the Texans come, just so we've got them. If the Texans were playing Germany, we'd most likely go there. Spain, you know. But I think there has been an element of, you know, a bit of complacency with, or getting a bit spoiled, is what I'll say. You know, you get spoiled with this.
I think the other thing to remember is that the spectacle of it for people that are going over or going down to the games, which we probably be doing ourselves. It doesn't really matter who you're getting over. Of course, people are desperate to see some of the teams like the 49ers come over. I'd love to see the Seahawks get a game in London. Not been over for a while as well. But you can't get the top teams over every time. It has to be spread out. Everybody's got to take their turn. And like you said, each of these teams have got their own markets that they actually focus on. The Jets are one of them, the Jags as well there. So Browns coming over will be interesting. What sort of team they'll have and how strong they'll be will be very interesting. Of course, the news today that Deshaun Watson's ruptured his Achilles again. There you go. Karma strikes again. We'll see what that means for the Browns, for their contract with them. We'll be able to claim on the insurance. State Farm, you were saying before we started playing.
They'll bundle
details. Yeah. They've got the details looked out for that there. I'll be interested to see how that goes down. What the opposition will be coming over. That's not been announced yet. There's lots of rumours for the Madrid game as well with the Dolphins. I think are heavily rumoured. It's not been confirmed, and of course the first Dublin NFL game with the Steelers undoubtedly coming over. So I like that it's opening up. We'll hopefully be working very, very hard to get some Scottish representation in the next couple of years. I think a match at Murrayfield is something that has to happen. Certainly with the interest that you've got throughout the UK and Ireland, plenty of people would travel to Murrayfield for those games. It would be a great experience for everyone. Yeah, so
I was at one of the college games over in Dublin a few years ago. It was Northwestern were playing, and it was one of the best, most enjoyable experiences I've had going to a game.
Amazing.
Just the pre-stuff, you know, in the Temple Bar area. Even getting into the stadium was a breeze. You know, there was people walking in there with their shopping bags from up the town. You know, there was none of this like high class.
But eggs and milk and all that.
Well, massive Primark bags and everything. They're just walking in with it.
It's not like the NFL games, not like the ones with Wembley. Clear bag that you've got to have. It's like, oh, you can't take in this, you can't take in that.
Yeah,
just take whatever you want for a college game. Take your carry.
And the college, and what happened at Aviva Stadium was the till system went down when we were there. So what did they do? They started handing out the Guinness and all the drinks for free.
Wow.
Yeah, they didn't even shut the bars. They were just like, well, we can't charge you for them, so here, take them. So there was folk coming back with like mountains of drink, and it just once folk found that out, you know that you just seen this like wave of people disappearing and then coming back. But like if that had been Wembley or Tottenham and that, I think the shutters would have come down.
Yeah,
you know, there'd have been a riot.
Yeah. So they made they finally got it working again, but by that time it was too late because everyone was blutered. But yeah, so it was a good time over there. You know, they put on a really good weekend. Really enjoyed it, and everyone was really in a good mood. And I think, as you said, Murrayfield could offer the same kind of feel. Completely.
Yeah, definitely for a college game. I think the chances of an actual proper NFL game, like you say, they're diversifying so much now. All these, like you said, the premium teams, the premium games going to these new markets. We have been spoiled for choice, and the way that the NFL carousel works with the draft every year, you know what it's like. The poor teams, or the teams that you think are going to be performing poorly by this time. When it comes round to the London games, these could be teams that are sitting, dominant in their division. You just never know.
Yeah.
That's in Arthur Smith. They'll be leading the Chicago Bears into Murrayfield in a couple of years. Don't you worry about that. Right, good. Okay, let's have a wee look at the games that we've got coming up this weekend. A wee bit quite friendly for us in the UK with their times. We're starting on Saturday evening, 9:30, with the Los Angeles Chargers taking on Graham's beloved Houston Texans. You've got the home match there at NRG Stadium. What do you think of that one, Tex? Are you quite confident with that, or injuries doubted your confidence a wee bit?
Yeah. I was having a laugh about this. We mentioned that I happened to be on another pod yesterday, and we were joking about how there's been US pundits, and I don't know if you've seen this, have been renaming this slot like the Texans wildcard playoff spot, the 9:30 on a Saturday. It's like they just expect us to get beat, so let's just move past that and get them out of the way for the weekend so everyone can enjoy their weekend. But no, I think Chargers are obviously a very good outfit this year. They've been doing a lot of good things. Herbert's been absolutely solid with the ball. McConkey, great outlet for him and stuff. But after last week, and I know we only played the Titans, but after last week, the starters were only on for the first series, and they moved the ball very well. And take nothing away from Tennessee, they don't want to lose to us, especially wearing Oilers colours.
Mm-hmm.
So it meant a lot to them to be good in that game. And their defensive front is very big and very impressive and can get a lot of pressure. And on that initial opening drive, that's one of the best drives I've seen us moving the football off a starting drive this season. What we scored, and then we started resting like CJ and all that. They started coming out. We started phasing out mixing and stuff. But then we've seen a glimpse of what some of our backup guys can do, like Pierce had a huge game against a very stout run defense team. Honestly, those boys are big up front for Tennessee. So when you look back at what they did to us in the NRG, when they hadn't scored more than 17 points in a game up until then they dropped 32 on us, for them to not really be that effective against our backups, say. It's like, if you look back in the Kansas City Chiefs game, when Tank got hurt and you've seen how much it affected CJ, I think that actually carried on into the Ravens game. And it took, he had a lot of time off in between that Christmas game and the Tennessee game, got his head right, and the team probably come round and rallied around each other because they were one of the teams that played so many games in 11 days or something, and they seemed to rally. They got their heads sorted out. They knew what they wanted to do and they executed. Now, whether they can do that against a team of the Chargers caliber is a different story, because again, very stout on defense, don't give up a lot of yards, don't give up a lot of points. So I think it's going to be one of those that I think a lot of people will be shocked if the Texans win.
Mm-hmm.
Be a lot of Texans fans who aren't shocked because we know what we can do on any given day. But no one's really seen us do it this year. We haven't got a good record against winning teams. Your team.
It's the injuries.
Yeah.
It's the injuries that have really just sucked
bad O-line play.
the momentum from Jamaica Ryan's team. Craig, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Stroud's struggled this season. Like season prior, he was absolutely superb, but yeah, the offensive line's definitely his protection's not been there in the same way. It's definitely been more porous this year. The biggest difficulty I think that there's going to be in this game, and you kind of hinted at it just a few moments ago, Hendo, was the Chargers defense, like highest scoring defense, the least number of points that they've conceded in the entire NFL, which is a tremendous record. But the one little kind of glint of optimism you could see out of that is it's less than a month ago that they conceded 40 points against the Bucs. And that was a game that if I were the Texans and I'm looking at ways that I can exploit a team that has been known this season, like Jim Hubbard's done a great job as head coach. He's got this team to the playoffs in his first season as head coach of this team. Potentially could be one of only two coaches that gets them to a playoff win in his first season. They are playing very, very well, but they are prone to these games, like say that Bucs game in particular. But even so, Herbert has played extremely well. He's only had 3 interceptions the entire season. He's extremely sensible with the ball. He's not going to be the type of quarterback that's going to be forced into making mistakes. That's the biggest challenge for the Texans. The injuries are massively unfortunate, but you're absolutely right in that the game last week was a good opportunity to see what else do the Texans have, what players can really step up. In these kind of games, it's a one-off, it's a must-win. There is absolutely no reason why the Texans can't make a game of this. And yeah, I'm with you. Like, let's not write the Texans off here. Everyone seems to be saying this is the Chargers game to lose, but you've got home field advantage. Despite the record not being the same or not being as good as the Chargers, but that's the way the divisions work. That's the way the wildcard rounds work. And this season, more than any, is bizarre for that. You've got so many teams having to go out on the road, playing against a home side with a worse season record.
Yeah,
quite incredible how many times that's happening.
The thing is, well, the way Herbert's played with the ball, and he's had 3 picks, but how often have we seen quarterbacks throw picks in bunches? And if you look at our defense, you have like Stingley on 5 picks, Kalen Bullock on 5 picks. I think Kamari Lassiter's got 4 picks. These guys are ball hawks back there. I think Stingley today got announced as all pro today.
Yeah.
So we have the tools on defense to maybe upset them, and like once it gets in your head, you've been so careful with the ball all year, and then one of the biggest games of the season, if he happens to throw a pick, that could be enough to unnerve him, and then anything's possible.
One of the other main players for the Chargers this year has been J.K. Dobbins, moving in the offseason last year from the Baltimore Ravens. And he's just the kind of player that Jim Harbaugh absolutely loves. And that's somebody that's going to pound the ground, get working through. But you guys have also got that as well in the Texans with Joe Mixon. Yeah, again, off-season acquisition from the Bengals they'd left. Mixon's got over 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns. Dobbins got 905 yards. A couple of weeks off with injuries, I think, has dented that because he's been exceptional for them at times. What do you think is going to be the bigger impact in this game? Is it going to be the running game, or is it going to be through the air and the wide receivers? Because Lad McConkey, as you spoke about earlier on, fantastic rookie season, over 1,100 yards so far. Nico Collins has got over 1,000 yards, but he's kind of like the last main threat that you've really got with the Texans, with the injuries to Diggs and Tank Dell as well. So where do you think it's going to be won mostly? Is it going to be through the air or through on the ground?
I think it'll be. I generally think it'll be based on who can produce the most pressure. This game will be won probably through the air, but if Stroud isn't allowed the time to get it through the air, that's where it'll be key. If we can't get enough pressure, you almost don't want to get into a shooting match with the way the Chargers have been playing, like
absolutely
gunslinging, because I don't think we can produce enough time to get involved in that. Like Nico Collins, it doesn't seem to matter any week that he's the main guy, he still gets decent yards, even though he's probably the only major threat. So, we'll see. We just need our supporting cast to step up. Huge, like Bobby Trees, he needs to step up big this week and stop dropping the ball or fumbling it when he gets hit. Dalton Schultz,
Pierce as well.
We need a bit more out of him. So.
Absolutely. Right, predictions for the match then. Let's go for, first of all, who's going to win? Can I get a score from you as well, please, gentlemen? Smudger, come to you first.
Okay. Yeah, I think that the Chargers, the advantage is going to be if they can put the pressure on CJ Stroud. I think it will still be a fairly close game. I'm going to go for Chargers win. Sorry, Endo. I'm going for 27-20.
Graham?
I'm going to go with... I've got to go with my Texans, So I'm going to say... it's going to go down to a walk-off field goal by Kaimi Fairbairn. And it's going to be 24-21. And he's going to bang it in from 54 yards. He's good over 50, but anything else, he's dog.
Okay.
Of course,
he's an adopted Scot, Fairbairn. Good Wayne. Is the English.
It's his character name or whatever, or 52 character name doesn't quite match the Scottish. It's maybe Gaelic.
There we go. Yeah, we got Gaelic there. I'm going to go for the Chargers. Like you say, tight, close fought game. I'm going to go for 2017. I think it'll be a bit of a slog, but no, I'm looking forward to it, and it's a great way to start off the weekend. I love the Saturday night games. I wish that something that they would do a wee bit more often. After the Chargers and the Texans, we have the Steelers at the Baltimore Ravens with the MVP elect, back-to-back MVP elect by the sounds of it, and Lamar Jackson taking on the Steelers there. Craig, I'll come to you first of all.
Yep.
The Ravens are heavy favourites for this one, and rightfully so. They've been fantastic this year. The weapons that they've added. Zay Flowers has had an incredible season, over 1,000 yards now. Derrick Henry coming in. What a wonderful piece of business that was for the Ravens to get him. And Lamar Jackson, over 4,000 yards, and he's got... Let me see, how many yards is it rushing? It's over 1,000 rushing yards as well, I'm sure.
He's been absolutely fantastic, hasn't he? he's been absolutely tremendous.
Absolutely. So, the Ravens, is there any hope for the Steelers in this one, or is this going to be a procession for the Ravens?
Well, the Steelers, they've kind of limped into the playoffs, haven't they? They've lost the last 4 games, so they've very much not got momentum on their side here. Now, okay, it's playoff football, so forget the regular season record. Take every single game as it comes, and certainly in the interviews this week with Mike Tomlin and Arthur Smith, both have basically been kind of conveying that. Forget about the past 4 games. There's been a lot of questions over the Steelers. Their defense has been consistent this season. It's been one of the best defenses in the NFL, and it's helped carry them through to this point. But offensively, and especially towards the tail end of the regular season, they have been poor. And I think one of the big questions surrounding that is the quarterback situation. You've had Russell Wilson coming back in after Fields going out earlier on in the season. And for a short time, it looked like the Steelers were finding a bit of rhythm with him. But that all seems to have kind of fallen away a little bit. And it's whether in this game, like to stand any chance against the Ravens, like the Ravens are an absolute juggernaut at the moment. They are the team with all the momentum. Okay, you mentioned Flowers, who's had a great season up until now, but he's the only player, massive injury blow for them, not been able to play in this game this weekend.
Hopefully
However,
back next weekend should they get through.
Yeah, absolutely. If they get through against the Steelers, then hopefully would be available further down the line. But it's on first downs, the Steelers have been poor, and you wonder if they don't get off to a good start in this game, if things start to unravel quickly. If you're Arthur Smith, what do you do? Like it's your last throw of the dice before your season's over. Do you turn to Fields or do you stick it out with Wilson if things don't go well? And I'm interested to see what happens from that point of view. Because certainly, defenses on both sides very, very good. But offensively, there's only one team in this, and it's when you've got somebody like Lamar Jackson, who is MVP worthy, as you've said. Plus, this season they've added Derrick Henry, who's had another tremendous season. It's hard to see what the Steelers can do.
What about the Steelers then, Graham? How can they get through to the Ravens? The Ravens have just been so well organised. John Harbaugh's done an incredible job again. Really interesting. I've enjoyed watching the Hard Knocks with the wee insight. Tomlin, absolutely adore. I think the guy's a great head coach. Underestimated and underappreciated with maybe the weapons that he's been given. I think he could do with a bit more investment and there. But Harbaugh he's been there, he's done it. The guy's a class act, and his team seem to just know how to get it over the line at this point of the season. Just whether they can get it whenever it comes to the later on in the off season. Do you think this will be a procession for them?
Well, I was saying to some folk that I reckon that maybe Baltimore looked at who they could potentially have, and they probably didn't want the Steelers. If anyone can be your kryptonite, it's somebody that you play often. This will be their third meeting this year. I don't know if they've been overly confident against the Steelers all season. I can't remember their head-to-heads in the past this year, but if you're one apiece, yeah. So exactly. So if anything gives you confidence, is you can beat them. Yeah. You've had the tools to beat them already. Russell Wilson, I think they'll just give him the entire game. I don't think there'll be a swap out there. This is his team to crash and burn if that's the way it goes. The Steelers defense, they'll probably rely on them a lot again this year. In this game, sorry.
Yeah.
Jackson, he's my MVP candidate. From what I seen him do alone in the Texans game, no one else would have been able to do the things that he was doing in that game. They're very impressive, but I just think that Steelers meeting rooms all week, they're just going to be pounding at home that we've beaten them, we can beat them. They're no stranger to us. We know them inside out. There's no mystery packages coming in here. So if there's any game that could be a huge upset this weekend, in some people's eyes, I think it could be like the Steelers, who are on a 4-game slide. The streaks have got to come to an end at some point.
We do.
Why
you
not?
You can say the same about streaks coming in with Jackson as well. His playoff record's not actually that great.
Yeah, that's true.
So, like, he's got a point to prove. Like people have said, I think he's 1-3 in playoff games. So
he's good against us in the playoffs.
I think he's definitely, that's an incentive for him as well. Like out there, especially against your big rivals in the Steelers, and prove a point basically.
Yeah, but like the Steelers are used to playing out in the cold. You know, they could have ended up, say, with the Chargers and got them outside and roughed them up a bit. You know, there's too much things that there's nothing worse than fighting somebody you know so well.
Yeah.
You know, so this could be an absolute. This could be like a total punch up. This one.
Go for it. Right. You think it's going to be an upset then, Graham? What's the score going to be then?
I think Steelers are going to nick this one. But I think it's going to be I think this will be a 2017 Steelers.
Craig?
I'm going the opposite way. I think Baltimore are going to win in this one, but I'll say 24-17 to the Ravens.
Okay, right. I'm going to go for the Ravens as well. Flowers been out, but they've still got Bateman, Andrews, and Likely. There's plenty of options there for them, and of course you've got King Henry there. I'm going to go 38-17. There we go. 38-17 to the Ravens. It's going to be aye, and a couple of garbage time points for the Steelers as well. And that would bring an end to Russ's reign in Pittsburgh as well. So we'll see how that turns out. Next up then, we have, that's the late game on the Sunday. Am I right in saying that? Let's check and see. We are now on to 6 o'clock, Guy. A 6 o'clock game for us is the Denver Broncos at the Buffalo Bills up at Highmark Stadium, upstate New York. This the weather in Scotland this week's been pretty cold. It's football season, it's football weather, guys, and upstate New York certainly is going to be chilly Baltic for the Denver Broncos as they go to visit the Buffalo Bills. I saw a stat today that Sean Payton has a winning record against bald head coaches. So I think this might be the upset that we're looking for whenever we're talking about upsets there. Graham, what do you think about this one then? What's going to be the key players in this game?
I generally don't think the cold's going to be an issue for Denver because, you know, they play up in Mile High. Yeah, they're used to the cold. Again, you're putting a team who's used to the climate against a team who's used to the climate, you know. So there's going to be other adjustments. I heard he's going to be wearing a wig this weekend just to get past that. You know, he's been on Amazon Prime.
And we trip to Turkey.
Delivered. Yeah, just getting that. You know, getting all the superstitions out of the way. No, but I think Bo Nix is going to revel in this game. You know, the dude just doesn't seem to be fazed by much. So I think it'll be a really good game. I'm actually really looking forward to watching this one. I just think it's going to have everything in it. You know, Allen obviously brings a lot to the table. He's been outstanding this year. Probably his name was in the ring for MVP as well. I'm just looking forward to this one. I really think Allen's either going to take it over or he's going to be subpar, which he can be in certain situations. I've seen it this season already. You know, that's one of the teams that we beat this year was the Bills. You know, so they are beatable. And when you've got a character like Bo Nix, he just wants to play ball and just launch it about. And when you start making the playoffs, and that's the first time they've been back since, was it their Super Bowl run? Mm-hmm. Is it? So that's like 9 years since they've been in.
Yep.
So
it's been a while. Super Bowl 50.
Yeah. So
it's the last thing.
You know, what a stage for him. So I think it's going to come down to how much a superstar Bo Nix is on the day.
It's a game they've got nothing to lose. You know, Denver are coming into this game massive underdogs. They're up against the Bills, and Josh Allen has had a fantastic season. He's done extremely well. He's had great protection from his offensive line. Like, they don't allow a lot of sacks. But I think part of it as well is just how slippery Josh Allen can be as well. How much he is able to get out of the pocket and avoid pressure and still create something at the end of the day. So yeah, like from Denver's point of view, like he's the glue that holds that Bills offense together. They need to find ways to try and limit him. They need to try. I think one of the biggest things they need to do is basically like possession of the ball. If you cannot stop Allen when he's on the field, make sure he's not on the field in the first place. So their game management here is going to be huge. And Nick's, there's an opportunity I think here where, and you've got to give Nick's credit. Like he's been brilliant. And Sean Payton's a great coach as well. So I think the two of them together really complemented each other. If you're Sean Payton, if you're Joe Lombardi, and you're saying to Bo Nix, listen, play this game, try as much as you possibly can to be on that field. Don't have to go out there and make the huge chunk plays, but just clock management, game management, be sensible here. And I think he's a clever enough quarterback and a smart enough quarterback to be able to potentially do that. And that's probably the one thing I would say. If you're Denver, if you're going into Buffalo, that's the kind of tactic I think that you've got to think about going with if you're going to stand any chance of beating the Buffalo Bills.
I think one thing I was looking at with the Bills this year was this was a rebuild year. Stefan Diggs was away. They didn't really have a standout wide receiver. Khalil Shakir did well towards the end of last season. Made me want to pick him up in a couple of fantasy leagues, but he's actually done a lot better than I expected. And the emergence of Keon Coleman as well seems a nice big guy, but he's stepping up a wee bit. He's getting used to it. I think in the next couple of years we're going to see a really, really good quality wide receiver for the Bills there. But one of the biggest surprises for me was James Cook and his emergence in the run game. And I think that's been key to helping take a wee bit of pressure off of Allen. We know what he can do. He's got a cannon for an arm. His accuracy's been much, much better. Only the 6 interceptions this season, which in past years it's been one of his major faults that people have pointed at him and say. But that's the reason that he is in the running for the MVP. I think most of us agree that he'll probably fall behind Lamar Jackson for it this year. But he's certainly how he carried this team and brought this team forward, and the amount of touchdowns that he's thrown and ran in himself. The guy's been absolutely outstanding this year. James Cook, I think, will be a big help to the Bills for this game as well. Okay, let's see then. Peyton and his Broncos travelling there. I'm going to say that this will be a Bills win, but as Graham says, I think the fact that both teams are used to playing in the cold, both teams are used to this sort of weather, the head coaches that they've got. I don't think, as you said, Craig, that this occasion is going to faze Bo Nix. He has thrown more yards than Allen this season. He's thrown one more touchdown than Allen this year as well. So what a debut season it's been for this guy. And they didn't really take off until it was like week 4 or 5 before we really saw the best from him. I think this is going to be a tight one. I think it's going to be 21-20. I think it's going to be that tight for the Bills. I think the Bills are just going to eke this one, and it'll maybe give a wee kick up the tail for them so that they're ready for the next round. Graham, will come to you next.
I do think the Bills are going to edge it in this game. I think it's probably going to be harder than they thought, but I think they're going to win it by 27-20. Denver are the third-ranked team for points allowed in a game, so they're going to make them work for it. Their defense is stout, but 27-20 Bills.
Craig?
I think, both quarterbacks are going to be really fun to watch in this game. But I think Allen, he thrives in the playoffs. So I'm going for a Bills win. I think it will be close. I'm going to go 28-27 Bills sneak it.
Oof. Yeah, a tight one. That's probably the tightest so far that the three of us have agreed on. It'll be a great start to the Sunday matchups in the evening there, 6 o'clock. Be able to watch that one. I think that'll be on Sky, won't it? We'll be able to see that. Great. Next one, then we have the Green Bay Packers traveling to the city of brotherly love to take on the Philadelphia Eagles. That's slated in for a 9:30 kickoff time on the Sunday evening. Another fantastic matchup there between the two teams. The Packers have been unlucky with a couple of injuries. Christian Watson's out. He's torn his ACL against the Bears. And Jalen Hurts is still in concussion protocol. Whether he is going to be able to make it for the game or not, that'll be a big ask for the team. Okay, what do we think of this one then? Craig, come to you first of all for the Packers at the Eagles.
Yeah, I was just looking at it earlier on. Hurts has been back off injury report. I don't see that being an issue. So
I missed that.
Yeah, I mean he's still got that finger issue, but I don't see the concussion protocol keeping him out of this game. So I don't think I'd be losing any sleep over that if I was an Eagles fan. The big story in this game is Barkley. Arrested Barkley. This is a Saquon that when interviewed about not being played in the last regular season game, and I think he wasn't saying it maybe directly to the media, but you could tell that he wasn't maybe overly happy with the decision to not be played in that game. But understood Sirianni's decision to keep him fresh for this game. So I fully expect him to come out all guns blazing in this game. The Eagles have been incredibly one-dimensional on offense through Barkley. But he has been so spectacular. Why wouldn't you be? Let's be honest, when he's playing that well, why would you change things? Why would you know? And that's maybe the one thing you would say from the Packers' point of view. Well, if they have been that one-dimensional up until now, it's like, how do you stop Barkley? How do you do that? And the issue, though, is that although their passing game is there and they still have got exceptional players that can catch the ball as well, that's going to be the difficulty. As soon as you try and stop Barkley, AJ Brown, we'll throw it to Smith. You've got Hurts back off concussion protocol, who's, again, a great quarterback. So it's a massive ask for the Packers. But bear in mind, this was a Packers team last year that everyone wrote off in the playoffs when they went to Dallas and produced an upset in the last playoff Wildcard Weekend. So there is absolutely no reason why they couldn't do the same. It's going to be a big ask of them. And you mentioned there about the injury to Watson's a big blow. So both running backs from both teams are going to feature heavily in this game as well. Josh Jacobs has been excellent this year. He was excellent in the seasons before he went to the Packers as well. He's just carried on from there. Again, he seems to be one of these running backs that, despite playing just about every single game of the season, just appears to be indestructible. Built from the same stuff as Derrick Henry and the likes. So, yeah, both backs in this game are going to be really, really fun to watch as well.
Graham, what do you think of the injury to Jair Alexander for the Green Bay Packers, and how much do you think that's going to affect him? Because this season he's really gave them that takeaway threat of being able to get the interceptions. You talked about Stingley earlier on. Jair Alexander has given that to the Packers. It's something that they'd been lacking in previous years.
Yeah, he was exceptional at the end of last year as well, I believe, when it comes to the picks and stuff. it will be huge, but like Smudger said there, it's like if the game is going to be fought on the ground, that really takes away that pick element, doesn't it? If you're really going to fight it in the trenches, which the Eagles will probably do, they'll take it down to that kind of game. They've shown that they are very good at using all their downs, because when they get it like fourth and close, that unstoppable tush push always seems to come into effect and just keeps moving the ball on the ground, and they seem to grind teams down. Bartley's been superhuman this year. Probably my offensive player of the year. I think he will probably come out as well, all guns blazing, wanting to prove that he should have played last week to show the yards that he could have got. I actually felt sorry for that one family, that were in the crowd last week with the banner that said, "I've travelled thousands of miles to see Barkley break the record." And they must have been like the only family in the US that didn't know that he'd be getting benched. So so if anything, he'll be doing it for them. I'm sure.
I hope they somehow saw that and gave them tickets or something. For this
man,
game.
honestly, that's the kind of stuff I see when I'm watching NFL. Is that kind of, everyone else sees stats, I see this kind of heartbreaking things. The Eagles have had their woes this year with a bit of infighting as well. Like, I don't know how much that comes to the forefront, but AJ Brown's obviously, did he not have a thing saying he's always open? I'm not very keen on their coaching staff. Green Bay seems to have it together though. Both QBs I can see are both off the questionable. They both had that, but maybe they're still carrying some sort of niggle, but they're both off the questionable list, which will give both teams a bit of buoyancy. But yeah, I think this is going to be really difficult for the Packers. Although, saying that, the NFC North has been probably the best division in football this year. So you can't write them off for that, because that has been the toughest division this year. Like, no one has wanted to go up to the North in the NFC.
One of the problems with that is that they've actually lost their last two games, and it was at the Vikings and then at home to the Chicago Bears. Of course, would have been resting a couple of players in the last one, but that was still a tough loss in the last game of the regular season for them. You mentioned the Eagles coaching team there. Sirianni, probably lucky to have stayed on last year after losing, what was it, last 6 games of the regular season. It was an incredible fall from grace for them there, but they made changes, and the team's done fantastically well this year. 14-3 record, which is pretty incredible, and as you say, Saquon Barkley's a major part of that. Okay, let's go for our predictions then. Hurt's fine, Love's fine, right? We're going for it as if everybody is fit. Jacobs, Barkley, Jalen Reed, and AJ Brown. Right, let's go. This is probably one of the most exciting games to look forward to of the weekend, I would say. Okay, who wants to start us off? Smudger, you want to go first then?
Yeah, I'll go. So, I think looking at this game, if you're the Eagles, it's a repeat of your opening match of the season when they played in Brazil. And I think there's going to be a lot of similarities there. I think the Eagles will win it. The last game in Brazil was 34-29. So I'm going to go with it. It's still going to be the Eagles 34, but I don't think the Packers are going to be quite as strong. So I'm going to go for 34-24.
Graham?
Yeah, I'm going to go Eagles. They'll dump 30-23.
Okay, I'll go 24-10 to the Eagles. I think the Packers are going to struggle in this one. I just have a feeling that the Eagles are mentioned a wee bit of infighting, but I think there was a wee bit of abrasiveness between AJ Brown and Hurts, but they seem to have been getting it together again. He's always open, as he says, but he's starting to find them now, and he's a terrific wide receiver, and Hurts is doing enough. I know there's a lot of discontent about him at times, but I think the Eagles are going to march on through to the next round then. Right, excellent. We are now travelling to Florida for the next game. Washington Commanders at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That'll be the early hours of Monday morning, 1 o'clock in the Monday morning kickoff time for that one. Baker Mayfield's in the off season. Big fans of Baker at the crew here. Maybe a surprise that the Buccaneers are in the playoffs, guys. Would you say? I think when you've got players like Mike Evans, who you can rely on to get those 1,000 yards, and he got it in his last game, 1,004 yards. Is that 11 years in the trot now? The guy's absolutely incredible. But for me, the biggest surprise for the Buccaneers has been Bucky Irving. And I think the wee guy has done incredibly well and gave them a different dimension to that team as well. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing how they do against it. Another surprise from this season in the Washington Commanders. Dan Quinn's done a fantastic job there in his first season with them, with a rookie quarterback who was looking exceptional in the early part of the season. Still done quite well, but I'm not sure this one. This one is got the Bucs heavily favourites for this one, but I don't know. I feel it's on a real knife edge, Graham. What do you think?
With this one, I think that probably the experience of the Buccaneers will probably come to the forefront in this one. You know, they've got guys who've been there, to the Super Bowl before. I think there's still some of them knocking about the building.
Yeah.
You know, Baker Mayfield's been around the league. He's had an exceptional season this year. Good quarterback. Mike Evans, excellent security blanket for any quarterback out there. Always a big target, always tough to keep down. And you know he's probably getting the ball, but he's still, that's what's that, 11 seasons where we're saying on the trot that he's gotten over 1,000. So it doesn't seem to matter. The Buccaneers, they could say that they struggled in there, but they kind of suffered the same poison chalice that teams in the AFC South do. You know, everyone thinks that their league's a bit dire.
Yeah.
And somebody's got to come out on top. So I think they're suffering from the same thing as maybe the Texans are. You know, they probably shouldn't be there, although they've earned the right by winning the division, because the NFC South hasn't been particularly great again this year. But they've had good games against good teams. So you were saying a couple of weeks ago, you know, they beat the Chargers significantly, you know, so there's this team has potential to bounce on and do a lot of damage. Jaden Daniels obviously carried the team a lot this year. You can't ever count them out. Look at some of the things they've done this year. The Hail Mary game.
Yes, against the Bears.
About the guy was waving the Commanders fans away at the car park, and then he ends up tipping it for a Commander touchdown. So you can't count these guys out. So all these games that we've been talking about have been, like, on paper, brilliant games. I think the teams have been matched up really well this year, and this one's no exception to that.
Craig, Scary Terry up against Mike Evans. Who's coming out on top in that one?
I agree with Hendo saying that I think this game is definitely going to be closer in the balance, a bit of a knife edge game. It was nice to see Evans get his 1,000 yards. You know, they could have just knelt the ball, but Baker was like, no, we're gonna chuck it to you. You're gonna get your $3 million per day. Which was, fair enough. I think if you've got somebody that's going to get $3 million for catching a football and you decide I'm going to take the knee, he's not going to be very impressed with you, is he? So fair enough. And they've had to, guys like Evans have had to step up. Obviously, earlier on in the season, they lost Chris Godwin for the season, which was a massive blow for the Bucs. But they're no strangers to the playoffs either. fifth straight season that we're seeing the Bucks in the playoffs. They've won the Super Bowl previously when Brady was there. Obviously, that was a very different team that won the Super Bowl at that time. However, it's what Buccaneers team is going to show up in this game. They are capable of playing incredibly well, and there's been players this season that I've been really impressed with. Cade Orton, the tight end, I think has been absolutely brilliant. I think particularly since Godwin went out for the season, I think he's really stepped up as well. They just didn't look at all convincing against the Saints, and there was a little spell, like the first couple of quarters of that game, you're like, hang on a minute, like Saints could win this here. And kind of spoil the party. And then also they've lost to teams like the Cowboys. Both the Saints and the Cowboys are not as good a team as Washington, and I think Washington have shown that, with their quarterback playing the way he is, have been absolutely fantastic. And you mentioned Terry McLaurin there, like the chemistry that them have has been brilliant to watch. I don't know. I think the playoffs, there's always potentially a wee upset, and I don't know if it's the wrong Bucks that show up in this game, this could be the game that has a wee upset. So I'm very, very intrigued to see how this one plays out.
I'm going with Baker on this one myself. Again, another honorary Scot and young Bucky Irving. Bucky fans here at the Gridiron Crew. I'm going to go for the Bucks on this one. Tight game. They can score for fun, but I think 24-17 to the Bucks, I think, for this one. Graham, what about yourself?
I've got the Bucks on 24 as well, 24-21 for the Bucks.
I'm still finding it really hard to judge out what's the scores and know, say, what a scorigami is. One that's just not possible to do.
Yeah.
Smudger?
I'm going to be a wee bit different here. I'm going to go Commanders, but I think it's going to be close. I'm going Commanders in overtime.
Ooh. Wow, that's a good one. That's a good shout. Right.
When you said we're going to be a bit different, I thought you said you were going to be Commando.
Well, my kilt on. Yeah. Take a leaf out of your book, Head. Get the kilt on just for this game.
I might have to wear all my juju this weekend.
Right, final game then of the week. Craig, it's your Minnesota Vikings on the road, but not in LA against the Rams. It's been ridiculous, the fires that's been happening in and around Los Angeles this week. Heart goes out to people that have lost their homes. I was watching news last night, and it was weird how the fire can jump some homes and just leave everything else totally devastated. But there's like one house in the street, their whole garden in the house is absolutely fine. It was weird to see. Because of that, our good friend Stu was meant to be going down to Los Angeles, the Disney part there, but he won't be able to make it. I think he was hoping to try and catch a game when he was there. He won't be able to make it because the game has actually been moved to Arizona, the Cardinal Stadium. Craig, which stadium is it again?
Raymond James, is it not?
No, is that Bucks?
No, it's Bucks. I'm just like, no, it's
State Farm or Irn-Cru or something like
that. Some other random.
Do you know, I've got it here. It's the State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. There we go.
That's where the Browns have been keeping their insurance policy.
that's where they're going to be sending Deshaun Watson into the desert and get rid of him. 1 o'clock on Tuesday morning, the Vikes will take on the Rams. I've got to say, Rams have been a very, very good team. They just picked the Seahawks to the post to get in there. But I think this is going to be a McVay, clever guy, but I think Kevin O'Connell is going to work his wonders, which he's been doing all season. This is a banged up Vikings team that has went, was it 14-3?
14-3 on the season so far, yeah.
You must be absolutely delighted, Craig.
Oh, absolutely. This is it's been one of the most enjoyable seasons to watch as a Vikes fan. Kevin O'Connell's done an absolutely tremendous job. It's really been quite refreshing. At the beginning of the season, I didn't know what to expect, but in this particular game, there's no denying from a footballing perspective, having this game move to Arizona surely must favour the Vikings a little bit. The fact that you're no longer playing in the home team stadium, I still find it a bit bizarre. We were talking about it earlier on, I think before we came on, that you've got the 10-7 Los Angeles Rams winning their division, and then you've got the Vikes that are 14-3, and yet we're the on the road team. It's just the nature of the NFL and the way the divisions work. Personally, I would love to see it different. I would love to see it's based on your season merit, particularly now that you've got a slightly longer season. But it is what it is. You know, we're playing in Arizona. You've got the interesting dynamic of Kevin O'Connell and Sean McVay. Like obviously O'Connell has got history with McVay at the Rams. So it's going to be quite interesting to see. You know, these are two coaches that know each other very, very well. And the Rams, although they have a 10-7 records, they are more than familiar with playoff football. They've gone all the way. So Sean McVay knows exactly how these games are going to go. And for me, I am nervous, to say the least, about Sam Darnold in the playoffs, making his playoff debut. You look at the game last week against the Lions, which was a bit of a dress rehearsal. You know, everyone I think would have probably have guessed that the Lions were probably the most likely team to win that game. And then looking at the way that the playoffs were going to work out, it's very likely if the Vikings make it to this game that they're going to play the Lions again. But this particular matchup, we need Darnold playing well. He looked very, very off in the game against the Lions. Our red zone offense was so poor, quite unlike what we've seen from him for the rest of the season. But just so many throws that were just completely off the mark. Overthrowing. It just looked like he wasn't in sync at all with any of his receivers. Which was massively disappointing, but credit where credit's due to the Lions in that game. So having to play a Rams team on the road, far from ideal, absolutely far from ideal. And I just hope that we're not going to get the seeing ghosts Sam Darnold. I don't know if in the Lions game maybe this was him, pulling a bit of an Ebenezer Scrooge. He saw a few Christmas ghosts, Christmas past over the holidays. So I'm hoping he's coming into the new year past all of that, and we're seeing the regular season Darnold that has been exceptional up until now. I still think Kevin O'Connell's got every faith in him, and in this game, I'm hopeful that he's going to produce a decent performance. But playoff football, I would be lying if I were to say I'm not nervous about it.
What about the Rams then, Graham? As Craig was saying, they're 10-7. They finished the season better head-to-head divisional record than the Seahawks, who beat them in the last game, 30-25. So, where do you see the Rams being their most potent, their most effective here? Because they've got Matt Stafford, they are Puka Nacua, who we all know is an exceptional wide receiver, bursting onto the scene last year with a record-breaking season. But Kyren Williams, I think, is one of the ones that's going to be really, really inspirational for the team and the big threat for them. What about yourself? What do you think?
They started really slow this year, the Rams. They've been a slow builder, and they've kind of found their way this year. and kind of got going. Nakua, I think he's improved this year on is it after contact? He's still been gaining yards, and that's been big for them. I'm not going to speak too much about the Vikings at all because that's Smudger's expertise and all that. But when we played them earlier on in the season, you boys gave us a fair hiding up in Minnesota. We were fully expecting JJ McCarthy. I think all our pre-season stuff, looking at the schedule ahead. I remember listening to a few podcasts like Texans Base podcasts, and when they heard that Sam Darnold was going to be the starting QB, it was like they were all like popping corks of champagne and stuff, and they're like, yeah, this is going to be brilliant. We're going to go up to Minnesota. We're going to take some names. We're going to leave town with a big win and stuff, and we got absolutely spanked. Sam Darnold probably going to be, for me, probably comeback player of the year. So the way that the Rams have been playing this year, it's going to be very difficult for them to get past that. Their record hasn't screamed, and again, we're talking about teams in bad division situations. You're going to come out of there 10-7, have a team coming into town 14-3 on the road. Should that be the way it is? Unfortunately, it is. Look at the year that the NFC's produced nobody with a winning record, and somebody come out of that top in their division. I can't remember who it was. It's probably them that I can't say. But I think Stafford's been finding a way to win in the past few weeks. I know they lost last week against yourselves, the Seahawks and that, but Stafford's he's a total journeyman, isn't he? He can make all the throws. He just needs to be given the opportunity to. The way Williams has been playing, like rushing the ball, that opens up the ability to go to like the play action and stuff, and to find that spaces and that soft coverage downfield. That would be my worry for Minnesota, is allowing Stafford to game management, to bring in his game management style to find where you're soft, because he's very good at doing that to anyone on any given week. Minnesota, for me, and I mentioned it earlier on when we were talking, the NFC North has been an absolute buzzsaw for teams this year. Justin Jefferson, after Pinkygate, managed to write his season okay after the game against us. I don't know if you noticed that, Smudger. Hurts Pinky in the second half, had no receptions in the second half against Texans. But no, he's been very good as well this year, as everyone expected him to. Totally love this kind of matchup. It's going to be in neutral ground. Nobody's got home advantage. If the Vikings do what they did against the Lions last week, if the reports are true, the Vikings bought $2 million worth of tickets off the Lions and then resold them for cheaper to give them more of a home field advantage kind of feel. Who's to say that's not going to happen again in this neutral ground? So a very unusual kind of matchup, this one. Vikings could actually treat this as somewhat of a mini Super Bowl. Dress rehearsal. So why not take the advantage to do that? I think this will finish off the weekend brilliantly. It'll be a great climax to the weekend. A real good game I'm looking forward to.
I'm with you. I haven't experienced the hospitality of the Vikings fans in October there down in London, and how many of them season ticket holders had actually come over for the game. I agree with you. I think they're going to be there in numbers heading to the desert for this classic. It's a hard one though. I'm going to go for the Vikes for this one. I think Kevin O'Connell's he's on it this year. I think he should be certainly being considered for Coach of the Year. I think he's been outstanding the way he's managed the tragic death of the young guy at the start of the year, JJ McCarthy's injury as well. I think how he's led that team and got the best out of Sam Darnold is just a miracle worker this year. So I'm going to stick with this. I think the Vikes, wonderful season, carries on for one more week. Sam Darnold, he's going to exercise those ghosts this weekend, and he's going to lead them to let's see what we'll go for, 34-24 win for the Vikes. Craig, what about your? In fact, we'll come to you last, Craig, because we know who you're taking for this one. Graham?
Yeah, I think this week, this game, the Vikings are going to flex their muscles in this one. Sam Darnold might have not played well last week, but you'd rather he didn't play well in that game and saved the good Sam Darnold for the playoffs. Neutral ground, is the whole game going to be just too much emotion for LA with what they're suffering with back home?
Mm-hmm.
All these factors, and I think that the Vikings are just going to flex some muscle on it. This one I think could be 38-28 to the Vikes.
Go for it, Craig.
You know which team I'm picking, and I'm very much hoping that we can put last week aside, and as we were saying, treat this as a mini Super Bowl, and hopefully push on from there. If they can win this game, which I hope they will. I'm going to go for Vikings 31, Rams 20.
Ooh. Comfortable then? You really think it's going to be that comfortable? You're going to be sweating bricks?
Probably.
Okay, gentlemen, that has been our roundup of the Wildcard Weekend. A great weekend of action to look out for. There's plenty of games at friendly times for us here in Scotland and the UK. I'm really looking forward to seeing them, and we'll be back next week to discuss it with birthday boy Brian. Oh no, I think Brian's off next week. It'll be Stu. I'll be taking the helm there. Hopefully we will have some news about the Super Bowl to bring to you next week, where there's going to be some discussions over the weekend, and hopefully the crew again will be able to do something live with for the Super Bowl, and we'd hope to get as many of you involved as possible in that. Okay, stay tuned. Thanks very much for listening, for watching. Graham, it's been an absolute pleasure, my friend.
No, always a pleasure with you guys.
Smudger, thanks very much, buddy.
Yes, guys. Always good to talk some ball with you.
I hope both your teams have a fantastic weekend. Really, really exciting games to look forward to. Who is your pick? What's your pick for match of the weekend? Let us know on all our social medias, on X, Blue Sky, Instagram, all that sort of malarkey. Thanks very much for listening, and we will speak to you soon.